What if I told you that the universe might already be filled with intelligent life, but none of them can ever truly meet each other, not because they are too far away in space, but because they are separated by something far stranger and more unforgiving than distance itself? We usually imagine alien civilizations as something waiting out there in the dark, ready to be discovered with better telescopes or faster rockets. But there is a deeper possibility that changes everything we think we know about contact, communication, and even existence itself. It is the idea that intelligence across the cosmos may not just be isolated by light years, but trapped inside different versions of time, each one flowing at its own pace, each one locked inside its own invisible cage of physics. And if that is even partly true, then the silence of the universe is not empty. It is structured. It has meaning. It may be the result of laws so fundamental that no amount of technology, no matter how advanced, can ever break them. So the real question is not just whether aliens exist. The deeper question is this: if they do exist, are they already lost to us? Not in space, but in time itself. Because once you begin to see the universe through this lens, everything changes. Communication stops being a matter of distance and becomes a matter of synchronization. Civilization stops being a shared timeline and becomes a scattered collection of experiences that may never overlap. Even now stops being a universal concept and turns into something local, fragile, and deeply relative. And if time itself is the prison, then the most advanced civilizations in the universe might not be exploring the stars. They might already be trapped in different versions of reality, forever unable to realize that anyone else is out there. What follows is not just a theory about aliens. It is a journey into the hidden structure of time and what it quietly does to everything that tries to exist within it. When we talk about alien civilizations and time, the first thing that quietly breaks our intuition is the idea that time is not something shared equally across the universe. On Earth, we treat time like a universal clock ticking the same everywhere, but physics refuses to agree with that comfort. Time bends with speed and gravity, and that means two civilizations could both be right in their experience of time while living in completely incompatible realities. If an alien species evolved near a massive black hole or in a region of extreme gravitational compression, their seconds would stretch or shrink relative to ours. To them, 1,000 years might pass like a few days, while from our perspective, their entire civilization could seem almost frozen in motion. Now imagine communication between such mismatched timelines. Even if signals could cross the distance, the meaning of now becomes meaningless. What is simultaneous for one side is ancient history for the other. This alone creates a kind of temporal isolation where civilizations are not just separated by space, but by the structure of time itself, unable to ever align their experiences into a shared moment. Then comes the barrier that physics has placed at the deepest level of reality: the speed of light. It is not just a fast speed limit, it is the architecture of causality itself. No information, no message, no signal of any kind can travel faster than light. This means the universe is carved into separate regions that can only communicate slowly, like isolated islands in a cosmic ocean. Even if an alien civilization is technologically advanced enough to send signals across galaxies, those signals still crawl at a finite speed. A message sent from one side of the Milky Way to the other takes tens of thousands of years. By the time it arrives, the sender may have evolved, disappeared, or transformed beyond recognition. This delay is not a technological limitation, but a structural one, written into the laws of nature. As a result, civilizations are effectively trapped inside their own expanding light bubbles, forever communicating with echoes of the past rather than the present. If there are billions of civilizations across the universe, most of them may never experience a true conversation, only delayed fragments of each other's existence. As we expand our view further, the universe itself is not standing still. Space is stretching, and galaxies are moving apart not because they are traveling through space, but because space itself is expanding. This expansion accelerates the separation between distant regions so dramatically that beyond a certain distance, galaxies recede faster than light relative to us. That does not violate relativity because it is space expanding, not objects moving locally, but the consequence is just as dramatic. Signals sent from such distant civilizations may never reach us, not even in principle. There are regions of the universe that are already slipping beyond our cosmic horizon, meaning they will become forever unreachable. Even if an advanced civilization exists there, they are not just far away, they are permanently cut off from causal contact. Over time, more and more of the universe crosses this invisible boundary, shrinking the number of civilizations that can ever interact. This creates a strange kind of cosmic loneliness, where intelligence may exist everywhere, but connection becomes rarer with every passing cosmic era. Even within regions that could, in principle, communicate, time itself is not symmetric in experience. The second law of thermodynamics introduces a direction to time through entropy, the gradual increase of disorder. This is not just a statistical trend. It is the reason why memory works, why causes precede effects in our experience, and why the universe feels like it has a past and a future instead of being reversible. For any civilization, no matter how advanced, this arrow of time cannot be reversed. You cannot unmix a spilled glass of water or restore information lost into thermal chaos. Even hypothetical alien intelligence would be bound by this same directionality. This means every civilization is trapped moving forward in time, unable to step backward or revisit past states of the universe. Even if they could store immense knowledge, the underlying progression of entropy ensures that recovery of past configurations becomes increasingly impossible. Time, in this sense, is not just a coordinate, but a one-way road, and every civilization is walking it without exception. Now consider what happens when extreme gravity or near light-speed travel enters the picture. Relativity predicts that time slows down for objects moving very fast or existing in strong gravitational fields. This is not a theoretical curiosity. It has been measured in particle physics and satellite systems. For an alien civilization mastering interstellar travel, this effect becomes enormous. A ship traveling near the speed of light might experience only a few years passing on board, while thousands or millions of years pass in the rest of the galaxy. From the traveler's perspective, their journey feels short. From the outside universe's perspective, they have essentially vanished into slow motion. If such civilizations exist, they could already be scattered across different temporal layers of the universe, not just separated by distance, but by age. One civilization might still be in its infancy, while another, moving relativistically, has aged far into the cosmic future, without ever realizing how far ahead it has drifted. This creates a fragmentation of time itself, where civilizations are not synchronized along a shared timeline, but distributed across different relativistic experiences. When all of this is combined, an even deeper limitation appears. The universe may have fundamental limits on information itself. No matter how advanced intelligence becomes, it cannot exceed certain physical bounds on storage, computation, or transmission. Black hole physics suggests that information density has limits tied to surface area, not volume. Quantum mechanics adds uncertainty that prevents perfect knowledge of states. These constraints imply that even the most advanced alien civilization cannot achieve infinite understanding or perfect communication. There will always be gaps, noise, loss, and irreducible uncertainty. If time is the structure in which information evolves, then limitations on information also become limitations on how time can be interpreted or shared. Civilizations might reach a point where their understanding of reality becomes so dense and complex that it cannot be fully expressed or transmitted beyond their local region of spacetime. At that stage, even if others exist, meaningful interaction collapses under the weight of informational boundaries. When these ideas are placed together, a strange picture emerges. Civilizations may exist across the universe, possibly abundant, possibly ancient, but still fundamentally isolated not just by distance, but by physics itself. Time dilation separates their experiences. Cosmic expansion separates their reach. Light speed limits their communication. Entropy enforces irreversibility. Information constraints limit their expression. Even if intelligence becomes unimaginably advanced, it cannot break the structure of reality. It is embedded within. The universe does not simply host civilizations, it compartmentalizes them into regions of experience that rarely, if ever, overlap in meaningful ways. So what appears at first to be a vast, shared cosmic arena may actually be a collection of disconnected temporal pockets, each civilization living inside its own version of time, unaware of how differently others are moving through existence. One may think it is early in cosmic history, while another, due to relativistic drift, may already be billions of years ahead. Messages between them do not arrive in shared now, but in distorted echoes of past realities. Even if contact is theoretically possible, it becomes practically meaningless across such distorted timelines. In this sense, civilizations are not just separated in space, they are separated in time structure itself. Each one is locked into its own causal bubble, unable to fully align its present with any other. The universe does not forbid intelligence from existing elsewhere, but it does seem to prevent any unified experience of intelligence across itself. What remains is a cosmos where awareness may be widespread but never synchronized, always slightly out of reach, always a step too early or too late to meet itself across the vast structure of space-time. In the end, the idea that alien civilizations might be forever trapped outside of time does not just change how we think about the universe, it changes how we think about connection itself. We often imagine that the cosmos is a vast stage where intelligent life will eventually meet, exchange ideas, and recognize each other across the darkness. But when you bring in the real laws of physics, something quieter and more unsettling appears. Time does not behave the same everywhere. Space itself is stretching. Signals are delayed beyond lifetimes. Entropy moves everything in one direction. And information, no matter how advanced the mind, always runs into limits it cannot escape. So instead of a universe filled with conversations waiting to happen, we may be living in a reality where intelligence is scattered into separate timelines, each one perfectly real, each one fully isolated. Civilizations may rise, evolve, and disappear without ever realizing that others are doing the same just beyond the reach of their causal horizon. Not because they are alone in existence, but because they are out of sync in time. And perhaps the most profound part of all this is not the loneliness it suggests, but the perspective it gives. It reminds us that even our own moment is not guaranteed to align with anything else in the universe. Now is not a shared possession. It is something local, something temporary, something fragile, yet within that fragility lies meaning. Because the very fact that we can ask these questions means we exist in one of those rare pockets where time, information, and consciousness have aligned just enough to allow curiosity to emerge. Maybe that is what intelligence truly is, not the ability to conquer space, but the brief opportunity to understand time before it carries everything away. Good luck to you for your journey of learning and exploration, and thank you for giving your time and attention to these ideas.